Welcome everyone to the Into the Wild League Day 1, Match 2. Super excited to be here. This is Blue Train with my co-caster Jellycat. How you doing tonight, Jelly?
I'm doing so well, Blue. How about you?
Really excited for this match. We've got Nate Wolfe, the Into the Wild League Commissioner, versus Mike Lowe, the UHL League Commissioner. So I'm dubbing this Battle of the Commissioners, or Commissioner Battle.
I'm so excited that you said that. I was going to mention that. I'd also like to just give a shout out to Nate for the finals of the UHL. So let's see if he can pull the same thing in his own league here. There's definitely going to be a lot of questions about collusion and bribery, considering that Nate is the commissioner of this league. Uh,
Well, you know, we don't talk about that around here.
No, I'm really excited to see a lot of what we saw in the UHL, but with a big wild twist spun into it. Yeah, I'm super excited. So speaking of which, why don't I go over the rules of this league real quick?
Great
So
idea.
if if any of you watched the UHL, which Mike Lowe is now commissioning, the rules are the same, except that this is the wild format. This is a uh, three classes, no bans, best of five conquest format. So you bring three classes every week. You have to win with all three. First player to three wins the best of five. As soon as you win with one class, you can't play that class again that night. So you have to win one match with each of the three. It's a standard best of five conquest. The great thing about this is that it's a long-term league format. So week one, you choose any three classes. Week two, the classes that you chose the first week are out. You may choose three of the remaining six. In week three, you have to bring whatever three classes are left. So over the course of 3 weeks, we see every player play all 9 classes. And that's what's so cool about this. Also, a little spice thrown into this league is that every other week, we have some deck challenges. So this week it's just vanilla. Any three classes you want, any three decks you want. But next week we're going to see 3 different deck challenges. We're going to see 3 different classes. Each class you apply one challenge. So get excited for that. Definitely come back and join us again next week. Week 3 we'll be back to vanilla, but in the second round of 3 weeks, 4, 5, and 6, we'll have 2 class deck challenges in that week. So super exciting format. Really great thing pioneered by the UHL here, and I'm really excited to see it in a wild format.
Right, this league is meant to showcase the wild format, which is overdue for some love. So we're just getting our game ready here, and we'll get right into game one. And always, thank you for bearing with some of the technical difficulties we've had this evening. Again, day one of the Into the Wild League. Little bumps are to be expected, so we do thank you for your patience. Super excited
Yeah,
to get into game one over here.
we've got a lot of casters who have never done this before, so we've got a lot of great talent, and we're pulling people who are super good at Hearthstone, some great wild players, both playing and casting in this tournament. And so a lot of the talent that we've pulled to cast these matches, while great Hearthstone players, have never cast before. So it's a great opportunity to get some really high level commentary. But as Blue said, we really do appreciate you bearing with us as some of these folks learn to cast for the first time.
Myself included.
It's a first for me as well. I've done it in other uh, competitive arenas, but never in Hearthstone. So it's definitely given a lot of people in this league a first chance to play some competitive Hearthstone, and a lot of folks the first chance to cast it. So really exciting opportunities.
All right, so we are in game one.
Okay, so as you can see, we've got Nate Wolfe's Druid here against Mike Lowe's Hunter. So it looks right off the bat like Mike is playing Secret Hunter. which immediately makes me ask the question whether we're going to see some Reptar out of Mike. Are we going to see that Subject 9 coming down the pike? That is a card that I am super excited about, if for no other reason than that I am a Rugrats fan. So interesting choice here right off the bat for Mike. I don't think there's an obvious choice. You saw it looked like he almost went Dart Trap there just to try to power through before Nate combos. It's pretty safe to assume that Nate is playing combo Druid here, from Mike's point of view. So it looked like he almost chose that damage, but I think ultimately went with the right choice.
Yes, and let's not forget, it looks like Nate is playing one of these controversial Druid combo decks. As you can see, he's got the juicy Psych Melon in his opening hand. Much of the ire of Reddit has been focused on that card of late. Which combo Druid remains to be seen, although chances are good it's Togwaggle or Starliner. We know, but we won't spoil the fun for the audience, as this is a closed decklist tournament for the players.
Yeah, it could definitely be either one here. I mean, we should find out as soon as that Psych Melon hits. But definitely, Psych Melon is just one of those cards that has made a lot of players ask, is Blizzard paying attention to the wild format? Because Juicy Psych Melon is seeing little to no play in Standard. Without Aviana and Kuhn to add to that combo, there's not a lot of reason to play the card. But really making a huge splash in the wild format right now. The ladder is crawling with these decks. Okay, so that Ancient Brewmaster makes it pretty obvious here that this is the Star Aligner combo.
Yes, the dirtiest of combos. So this is going to be an interesting race between the Hunter and the Druid. Will the combo materialize before Mike has an opportunity to execute his game plan with the Spellstone?
With the amount of armor that Druid can gain here, if he can pull a Branching Paths, if he can take care of some of these guys with a couple of Spellstones, I think we're going to see a pretty quick game.
There is quite a bit of pressure on board, and the Psych Melon, if Nate chooses to play it, doesn't offer a whole lot to pressure this board. So a little bit of a dicey situation. This is Mike's opportunity to really seize the board and start putting some pressure before the combo can materialize. So Nate did decide to focus on clearing that board.
But interestingly, he goes with the Psych Melon over the swipe here, so he is going to take 6 to get that combo ready. So I know that the vast majority of our viewers have probably seen this or similar combos before, but I'll run through it real quick just in case you haven't. So in this case, Psych Melon draws Aviana and Kuhn. That's in every Druid combo deck. So the combo is that you play Aviana to make all your minions cost 1. Kuhn costs 1, and he resets you back to 10 mana crystals. In this case, what you're going for is Medivh, followed by Bran, followed by Star Aligner, whose battle cry is going to trigger twice. So keep in mind that Kuhn is a 7/7 and Medivh is a 7/7. So that means that Star Aligner is the third 7/7. So with a Bran in play, he'll do 14 damage. With that Ancient Brewmaster to bounce the Star Aligner back to hand and then play him again, he'll do another 14 damage. Did I say 18? 14 damage. So all told, we're going to be doing 28 damage here. Now, the reason to play Medivh is not so much for the effect of the weapon, but for the fact that with 2 Star Aligner activations and Bran, you do 28 damage. With the Druid hero power and the 1 damage weapon from Medivh, you hit 30. So that's why a lot of people are playing the Medivh here. So not a whole lot from Mike Lowe on that turn. We've got the cat trick that's going to trigger right now. Basically going to negate that swipe.
Second Star Aligner in hand.
The second Psych Melon to get that second Star Aligner. So not really necessary here, but that Star Aligner guarantees that even if Mike is crazy and playing Reno and buffs up to 30 and somehow gains armor, he's still got lethal. With that Innervate Nate can actually go off next turn. So we should be seeing a more than 30 damage combo next turn. The misdirection is irrelevant, and even that Rexar that would put Mike above 30 health is not going to be enough to get there right now. So Mike should know that Nate has the entire combo in hand right now. What he likely doesn't know is that Nate has Innervate in the deck. And just as a little behind the scenes for viewers, I'm going to let you know that Nate put Innervate in the deck today. It was a last minute swap for him. And as you can see, it's winning him the game right now.
Wow. I mean, it was a race. He got him down to 4 health. Mike got Nate down to 4 health, and it just wasn't enough. It just goes to show how fast this combo can be pulled off with
And
that Psych Melon.
This version of the deck is the fastest version of the combo. Nate was a little worried about that Innervate. It certainly makes your draw a little bit less consistent. It slows you down a little bit in terms of keeping aggro in check, but it speeds up your potential to combo. And as we can see, it was the right choice for Nate this evening. So assuming no crazy misclicks here, there we go. Nate's going to go up 1-0 in this best of 5 Conquest match.
Yeah, Starliner Druid showing why it is the dominating meta-bending deck that it is in the wild metagame right now. Well played.
Yeah. It's all over ladder right now. Players are taking a few different tacts with the deck, but we're seeing it all over the place, and it is really dominating. It's still yet to be figured out exactly which of the Druid decks are the best right now. There's a Jade Druid that is seeing a little bit of play. There's Togwaggle Druid, which could arguably be better in this matchup that we just saw. That's sort of yet to be seen. There's a really interesting Giant Druid that's playing Sea Witch again, really just to counter all the players that are playing Dirty Rat for this deck. So there's a lot of interesting things happening in the Druid class right now. And when I say interesting, I mean potentially broken.
Yeah, Dirty Rat is finding its way into so many decks on mid to high ladder, and I would assume at the legend rank as well. Shutterwalk decks with Dirty Rats, aggro decks with Dirty Rats. I mean, Dirty Rat is everywhere,
Reno
and that's
made with Dirty Rats and Reno Lock with Dirty Rats, and we're seeing. I even saw an Even Shaman with Dirty Rat.
that's disgusting.
The fact that kind of deck needs to play that kind of card is just a little bit silly. And the fact is that without that kind of disruption, that deck that we just saw out of Nate can simply combo faster than even Shaman can win the game. And that is crazy to think about. What was that turn 7 there that Nate won that game? I think. We saw a little bit of ramp from him early on. So yeah, I think that may have been turn 7, which is really ridiculous to think about a combo deck of that power combo off so quickly. So looks like both players have switched up decks here. Obviously Nate has. So we're gonna see Mecha Jiraxis Warlock from Nate here, and it looks like a combo Druid of Mike's here. Now we see Moonfire and Living Roots. We saw that Dream Petal Florist that he shipped. So clearly we're looking at a Malagos Druid from Mike here. There's not a whole lot else he could be. So it'll be interesting to see whether he is playing the Psych Melon, even though it's not quite as consistent in Mali Druid. From Nate here, seeing that Mech Warper, I gotta assume he's playing Glinda. Gonna be interesting again here because these are 2 combo decks. Theoretically, Mike's is the more consistent combo, but Nate should be playing a bit of disruption as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this match goes. What do you think, Blue?
I think it's the battle of the Dirty Rats, although I suspect that Mike isn't running such a card in his deck. I think that we see the versatility of Combo Druid. Aviana Kun powers so many different deck types: Mally, Togwaggle, Starliner, etc. This is just another strong strategy that is going to probably put Nate on the back foot.
So we see the gloop sprayer for Mike there. I think that's to give him an 8. It acts like a faceless here to duplicate the Mally on the Aviana turn. So really like that choice. It means he is most likely playing the Psych Melon. So I'm sure that we'll see that out of Mike. And Nate here just trying to draw through his deck as quickly as possible. I think he's really got to be shooting for the Glinda plan. That's his best chance in this matchup. Aside from a rat option to hopefully rat a key combo piece, he may be playing Gnome Feratu. It's possible that he's playing Brand, so a Brand Gnome could certainly hit a combo piece. But aside from that, it looks like he's just trying to get to the combo as quickly as possible at this point.
I find it interesting that non-aggro decks in Wild are really veering more towards the OTK finish. It used to be that you could, grind an opponent out, through attrition, and that's starting to become not so much a viable strategy anymore. In our earlier series tonight, you saw how Bananaramic took a Reno Mage deck, which traditionally won through fatigue, and added an OTK element, which he successfully pulled off. And this could be the evolution of Warlock with an OTK strategy as well.
Yeah, I know that Banana and Jonah as well put a lot of work into that deck. Shout out to EK Designer, who has done some wonders with that deck, really made it super viable. But I think what we're seeing is, in a lot of ways, just the natural evolution of a Wild format. So once you hit this number of cards in a format, it just becomes likely that you will come up that you'll run into combos like this. So we get to the point where it just becomes uh, a better idea to run an OTK finish than to grind out your opponent. It looks like Mike is trying to decide whether to Spreading Plague and slow down Nate here, or wait, because the problem with that Spreading Plague is that it fills up his board. It makes it tough for him to fit his whole combo on board.
As this is a closed deck list format, Mike might also be trying to figure out exactly what he's facing, as this archetype that Nate is playing is not exactly the most common feature on the Wild ladder. It has seen a little bit of traction, but it's not immediately obvious, possibly. So this might be a way for Mike to pause and get a read on the situation before he executes the rest of his game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now in hand, Mike has only 2 potential Malleys. So that's 10 spell power. So that gives him the 30 damage from hand. So interesting Spreading Plague here, because it is going to prevent him from playing both Malleys. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, he's missing an Aviana. So he doesn't have 30 damage yet. He needs to play that Psych Melon next turn. So I really wonder why he went with Spreading Plague there rather than just drop the Psych Melon, pull the Aviana out of your deck, and guarantee 30 next turn. I think maybe he's afraid of Dirty Rat, trying to protect his hand at this point.
Yeah, if he thinks that he's playing against a Reno Warlock deck, which a few cards, seem to mirror in Nate's list, maybe, it was a means to try and flush out the rat. A good choice with the spiders. All too often we see people taking the scarabs. Have to commend Mike for taking the correct line here with the spiders so that he can kill the 4/4.
Absolutely. I think that too many players just forget that the spooters are an option. Definitely, I would say, something to consider every time you play this card. So I think Mike was trying to decide between 3 attack and 3 armor there. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the delay was. But definitely, I think you just try to stay alive until you can get that Aviana. At this point, though, I really think Mike just needs to roll out that Psych Melon and get to combo as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Even if Nate has if he's got the Dirty Rat, he's got the Dirty Rat. But this is one of those opportunities where you just have to say, have it or don't have it. I do like the wild growth first because if you can naturally draw the Aviana, you don't have to give away that you have it with that Psych Melon.
I would argue
So
that
we,
Mali is probably the most difficult of the combo druid decks to play because you have a lot of cards in your hand. There's a lot of resources to manage, a lot of complicated sequencing. Um, it could be that Mike is just taking a little bit of extra time to try and get that sequencing in advance so that he doesn't rope and miss his lethal opportunity.
yeah, I can absolutely agree with that. Mali Druid was actually the first deck that ever got me to Legend in Wild. Definitely my favorite of the Druid combos, although I don't think that it is the most competitive right now. I really like it as a choice for Mike. It's a looks like he's playing a really solid list. So here I think he just armors up and passes. And I think we're gonna see a win from Mike next turn. Let's see what Nate draws here. Well, he's got two options, and we'll see what he taps into. Interesting choice here. Puts himself to 30 and tap last. And that's it. That's game. As long as Mike sequences this correctly, we've got 35 damage. 34 damage. I can't do math. Oh, we've got more than that. I didn't even notice that he drew the Ixlid.
I'm conspicuously silent because I can't count either. I just know that it's enough for
so
lethal. 30x damage.
so he's gonna go Aviana Kun, Ixlid. Then he's gonna go Malagos, and then he's going to Gloop Sprayer the Malagos, something that I've never actually seen happen with an Ixlid in play. So I don't know how the interaction works.
That's a lot of Mali gooses.
But we're about to find out. I think I think the correct term is Mali Geese.
Mali geese.
So he's not even gonna bother with the Gloop Sprayer here. He's just gonna go 30 damage to the face.
It's a
Yeah,
well-known
I'm joking.
fact
I
that
have no idea.
Malygos is not a dragon and is a goose. This is a fact.
Here we go. So he fills the board, so it's irrelevant what the interaction is. Interesting.
The Druids both taking a win and tying up the series.
There it is. So I am pretty glad that we didn't see the Druid on Druid mirror, because that would have been just about who could get there faster. Although I am sad that we didn't get a chance to see that Glinda combo. The cards in the deck, but Nate could not get there quick enough.
Well, he might have the opportunity to queue that deck up again and showcase what that combo can do. Although I will say that the surprise factor might be a little less this time, as Mike might be onto the game plan now that he's seen about half of the deck.
Although, to be fair, did he see any cards that were not stock standard Reno lock? He saw Giggling Inventor, but that's a card that I feel like you could probably put in the deck anyway, just as two Divine Shield taunts.
Yeah, I suppose that's a card that's seeing a lot of play from the new expansion. You are quite right. My confirmation bias from staring at Nate's hand all game might have influenced that comment. So maybe he didn't reveal a whole lot of information there. I think you're right.
Yeah. So it'd be super interesting if Mike goes into the next match against this Warlock and just assumes that it's stock Reno lock. If he doesn't prep for the combo, especially, Reno lock is not a deck that you typically want to dirty rat. You don't want to hit a Death Lord. You don't want to hit a Mal'Ganis. So if Mike's running some dirty rats and maybe he slow rolls them, maybe he holds them back against this lock, and doesn't hit the Glinda, doesn't hit the Mech Warper, we could be in for some interesting sequences here. So it'd be fun to see what happens here. So we've got a win from both Druids here.
Yeah, so that leaves the Mage and Hunter for Mike. Hunter took the loss in the first game, and that leaves the Warlock and Hunter for Nate. Warlock taking the first loss on Nate's side. So we've got a tie series, and I agree. I'm excited that the Druid decks are out of the way. I have a feeling that Mike's other choice in the Mage will be far more interesting than, you know, the kind of bog standard Aviana Kun type shenanigans that we've been seeing.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. So with Mike here, we know that he's playing Secret Hunter. What do you want to try to cue that into?
Maybe Warlock? If, well, I don't know.
It's interesting that you said that. I feel like, so if we assume that Nate is playing a pretty standard mech hunter or face hunter list, I feel like Mike really wants to cue his hunter into the hunter mirror. He's playing explosive trap, things like that. I think he might be favored in that matchup.
So did I see a simulacrum in Mike's
Yeah,
opening hand that he mulliganed?
so so that's an Antonidas as well. So it looks like Mike is for sure playing Exodia Mage. Those Witchwood Pipers, the fact that he started with both is brilliant because they're both gonna get Sorcerer's Apprentices there. So he's got Antonidas, double Sorcerer's Apprentice, and Simulacrum in hand right here. Oh, sorry, that's a Cone of Cold. But he's got double Sorcerer's Apprentice in the Antonidas. He may not know that Nate is a combo deck as well. So at this point, Mike's probably feeling pretty good because against Reno, he's pretty heavily favored. If Reno isn't able to rat any of his combo, and those double Witchwood Pipers help a lot in this case. If Reno's not able to rat his combo, he can go off at leisure. So it'll be interesting to see if Mike realizes that Nate is playing this Glinda combo here.
So do you think that we're not seeing that many aggro decks because people are just afraid of queuing their aggro deck into that druid wall of spreading plague and armor, and so this is why we're seeing this race to the bottom or top, if you will, in terms of greedy strategies?
Yeah, I think that's exactly why we're not seeing aggro. I don't think it's just the druid though. I think it's the number of control tools we have in the format at this point just makes people worried in a tournament setup. I mean, when you're queuing on ladder 15 times in a row, aggro is the right choice. But in a tournament format like this, not always the right call to roll that deck that can win real quick. Sometimes the greedy plays are the right plays in a format like this. But I also think a lot of it has to do with what players are comfortable with. So I think if you get players who enjoy smashing face with aggro, you're going to see more aggro. The thing is, I don't think a lot of the players that play in tournaments like this, in not hyper competitive tournaments, I think they tend to be the kind of players who like spice, like we're seeing. They like interesting. Yeah, so the
I know
Witchwood
I like
Piper.
to see the variance in deck choices. This has certainly been a great night of very varied Hearthstone. A little bit of a break from the
Yeah,
monotony of the rank 5 floor.
yeah, absolutely. So I paused there in commentary because I was trying. Should know what Mike is playing at this point, but I realized that with that Witchwood Piper, it should be pretty obvious that Mike is playing a combo, and there's really not any other combo that he'd be playing at this point. So it should be clear that this is a combo on combo matchup, at least to Nate at this point. And with those mechs from Nate, it may be clear to Mike as well that Nate is the Glinda combo. So we'll see if Nate can draw into that one of Glinda there.
Yep, this is definitely a race to see who can execute their game plan first. Both players are holding on to some combo pieces, but I'd say this is anyone's game at this point.
And Mike is certainly doing the right thing at this point in the game. It might be a turn early for it, but what Mike needs to do is to make sure that he never leaves a mech on board. Because the combo is not an OTK unless Nate has a mech that can attack. Oof, burning Mal'Ganis there is tough. It's not incredibly relevant when Mike combos off unless he's got a pretty low APM. But prior to combo, that Mal'Ganis can be pretty relevant if Nate needs to go with the face plan. So not the I'm sure not the card that Nate wanted to be burning there. Probably better than the Glinda in this matchup though, because I do think this is going to come down to who can combo quicker.
It does look like
This,
Mike is holding on to an ice block, which actually might give him a slight edge. If he manages to develop that ice block, if Nate gets the Glinda combo off, you know, that gives Mike an extra turn to do his thing with Antonitis and unlimited fireballs. I wonder why he hasn't developed that ice block as of yet. It does seem that there was a few opportunities to do so. I wonder if Mike actually knows what he's facing. I suspect he doesn't, and that's not so unreasonable considering that this is not the most common strategy.
that's an interesting call. I mean, that last turn when he could have developed that ice block, he went for the kill every mech play instead. So not sure if that's just to keep the board clean, clear as much damage as I can, or if he knows that he might be facing Glinda. At this point, with the mech warpers in hand, you know, he doesn't have the Ziliax, but Nate could combo off as soon as he draws that Glinda. So as you called, that ice block has come out. So even leaving a mech up right now is not the end of the world. Additionally, Mike has the Frost Nova Doomsayer. So even if Nate is able to combo off with a full Glinda, including Ziliax, including swinging at face, Mike will be left at worst 1. He can Frost Nova Doomsayer by another entire turn to get that combo into hand.
Yeah, no, Mike is racing to draw to his combo. You know, he's got quite a few pieces in hand.
So pulling that Acolyte of Pain makes it pretty clear that Mike is probably not playing the project at this point. I just mentioned that because I know a couple of high-level players have been testing out Exodia with the project. I don't think it makes it a top-tier deck by any stretch, but I do think the project is the right play. And that's the 1 mana each player draws 2 cards, right? Am I getting that wrong?
It's 2 mana. 2 mana each player draws 2 cards. Very strong.
See, I'm assuming that Mage is Druid. Unfortunately not.
No, Druid got all the busted cards.
So what do you see for Nate here? Interesting.
You know, I think Nate's trying to race to his combo. It does appear as though he's not maybe leveraging all of the pressure that he can, but he probably knows that Mike has a lot of defensive tools, so I don't know if he's, you know, executing his game plan correctly, or maybe he's playing into the trap that Mike is setting him. This is a very difficult and nuanced matchup, and for those of us who sit at the rank 5 floor month after month, maybe not the best to navigate it.
To be perfectly honest, this isn't a matchup that I've thought a lot about, so I'm not entirely sure. But I would say that staring down 47 health, it's tough to imagine that Nate thinks, oh, I'll just tempo him down. At this point, he's probably pretty convinced that he needs to combo the win here. So I think he's just trying to decide what cards to get out of his hand, make sure he doesn't burn that Glinda. Nate probably knows that Exodia often plays Cold Lights. He's probably pretty worried about burning that Glinda.
That's true, and Nate has played a lot of Exodia Mage.
And to be perfectly honest, wow, so that play makes me think that Mike definitely does not know the deck he's faced.
Yeah. And really? maybe Nate's trying to keep the misconception going. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but maybe
I like this play a lot. Putting those Void Callers out into the Void Lord. I like it. Yeah, it definitely screams from Nate, I am Lock with a few mechs.
Yep.
But the fact that we saw the mech warper and Mike still rolled out that Doomsayer right there, really interesting to me. I guess he's thinking between Frost Nova and Blizzard, he doesn't have to worry about
What to
Nate's
do?
combo.
What
He
to
does
do?
have Ice Block now into Ice Block. Um, but if super interesting from Mike here. I got to assume he's just trying to clear cards from his hand at this point.
I would agree. I mean, Nate hasn't been creating a big board state that would pressure him, so sitting onto a Blizzard for all these turns doesn't seem to have much value. Um, maybe Mike is also hoping that he'll get more card draw as well, which will allow him to neatly fill up his hand too.
Yeah, so there's the simulacrum. Uh, he's only got the one apprentice. So I missed what happened with that second Witchwood Piper.
What to do? What to
Clearly,
do?
oh, it pulled an arcane artificer. That's what happened with it.
All right, so we have two apprentices and Emperor coming down. This combo is getting closer and closer, and Nate's just not pulling what he needs to execute his game plan.
Yeah. So Mike actually has the combo in hand right now, so he can go off this turn.
And for our audience, because of the stream overlay, you cannot see it, but that ice block is still active for Mike as well. It's covered by his hand.
Yep. So Mike got every one of his combo pieces discounted by Emperor Throsson. That's more than he needed. But here, I don't have to explain the combo because you're watching it. Much like Nate Wolfe, it looks like Mike Lowe appreciates symmetry in his combos.
Yeah.
So
no quest, Exodia Mage.
And that's a beautiful win from Mike there. I do think, seeing how that match went, I think that's probably how that match is often going to go. Even with the Glinda combo in that deck, it's fundamentally a control Warlock deck. And that Exodia Mage out of Mike is designed to crush control. So I think we saw that match go much the way we expected it to. I don't know that Nate really had a great out in that matchup.
No, I mean with the board state he had, excuse me, even if he pressured, multiple ice blocks, all of that armor, it was certainly a tough wall to punch through, and so he doubled down on trying to get the OTK combo, which unfortunately did not materialize.
Yeah, and he could have gotten there. I mean, if he had pulled the Glinda at the right time, he couldn't have known that Mike eventually had Ice Block into Frost Nova. I mean, Mike really had that game locked down and never really felt any pressure from Nate. So he didn't even have to purposefully lock the game down. But just really solid play from Mike in that one, and you really can't fault Nate for anything that he did in that matchup. I think he was on his heels the whole time and probably knew what was coming.
So what's interesting now is we're going to see that Secret Hunter again, which struggled a little bit to put the amount of pressure needed to burst through. So it's possible that this Control Warlock might actually line up pretty well into the Secret Hunter that Mike has. So if that's the case, Nate might very well be able to force Game 5. I
Yeah,
wonder if he'll
absolutely.
cue that deck again.
It'll be interesting to see what Nate cues up here. We haven't seen Nate's Hunter yet, but as I said earlier, I do think that Mike's Hunter is well positioned to be dominant in a Hunter mirror match. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of Hunter we get out of Nate here.
All right, and it looks like we're getting into our next game.
Great. I'm excited to see. Okay, so we did see that Warlock as you had suspected. And I think you're probably right, considering what we saw from Mike in that first game. I think there's a pretty good chance that Nate could put it to a game 5 right here.
And I might be biased, but I would like to see it go to Game 5.
Hey,
First
I
day,
mean,
Gotta get it right down to the wire.
I would love to see it. You know, we haven't seen Nate's Hunter yet, and we've seen a couple of fun decks out of Nate. Not that I love seeing the Starliner deck one more time, but potentially someone saw it for the first time tonight. And so, you know, knowing that we saw that and this interesting combo from Nate, I'm interested to see what we see out of Hunter.
It looks like the client might have frozen.
Yeah, that actually happened to me as well.
Let
So, you
me.
know,
Oh wait, there we go.
that
Sorry
was
about
super
that.
interesting.
Yeah,
No, it's not your fault. It looks like it's Hearthstone's fault because I got
yeah.
the same slowdown there. So maybe a little bit of blip between Nate and Mike there.
They didn't start their game yet, so no gameplay missed. So nothing ventured, nothing gained.
So we saw a full mulligan from Nate there, and we're seeing the Yasharj out of uh, Mike here, which makes it pretty clear that he's gonna have a Barnes in there, and unfortunately is not playing Subject 9. So
You
my hopes
sound
are
your disappointment is palpable.
my hopes are resting squarely on Nate at this point. You know, we don't want any caster bias, but I need Nate to win this so that we can move to the next match, and then I need him to be playing Subject 9. This is what I need to happen right now.
We will not confirm or deny if Nate is running Subject 9 in his Hunter list.
Okay, so we saw the tempo Doomsayer here. No way that Nate could know that it was absolutely useless, but interesting play if he thinks this is a typical mech or face hunter. All that Nate really saw in the first game was a bunch of secrets. So he could be thinking that it's you know, a typical secret list that just went real secret heavy in game one.
Yeah. And Mike has that
But
Yasharaj in his hand, which is also known as Big Patches. Not exactly the kind of card you want to be seeing this early on.
that is the last thing you want in your hand in this deck. So really, I feel like Nate has the advantage right now, but we'll see how things shake out for sure. Oh, nice combo there. Take out that little taunt. Early Ziliax from Nate there, so we're not going to see that as part of the combo. But I think Nate is taking a look at the previous games, and thinking maybe not so smart to try to combo here and just try to outvalue his opponent, which I think is the right call in this case. I think, you know, Mike was considering kill command trade, but I think he made the better play there. Kill command for a straight kill on that guy.
So even with Nate's aggressive play to seize the board, he still managed to lose it. So he'll get it back with this Doomsayer more than likely.
Well, he actually won't. Candle Shot here kills the Doomsayer, so I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, you are correct.
That we're gonna see a death from Mike here. I think you play the Candle Shot. Yep. You go 7 to the Doomsayer and 4 to face.
And that to my side, cleaning up nicely. Always Huffer.
Yep. Absolutely. So Mike's probably bummed that he doesn't that Yasharj was not a Barnes, because that to my side would have gotten a couple. But even at that 1, he's putting a lot of pressure on Nate right now.
So let's talk about that for a moment. Barnes and Yasharaj slipped into all manner of decks. We've seen it in certain Hunter lists. I've seen it in certain Druid lists now. Not so common, obviously Big Priest. What do you think of just running Barnes and Yasharaj as a high roll win condition in a deck that otherwise doesn't run a whole lot of other minions?
So to be perfectly honest, I think it's always bad. I am of the opinion that relying on that kind of RNG is not a smart way to win long term. I think that Spell Hunter is probably more consistent without that combo. Because right now that Yasharj could be literally anything else. That, to my side, could have gotten him a couple more damage that turn. There was a lot that could have happened there if that Yasharj had not been there, if that Barnes had not been in his deck. So
I mean,
I
both
definitely...
cards have become bricks after a
Yeah,
fashion.
absolutely. Like, I think the correct thing to do here is to let that Barnes go. It doesn't get anything. Now he activates a couple more cards in his deck. Yeah, I think Mike is probably regretting the decision to have those 2 cards in his deck, and I think based on the way that he drew this game, he would have had a better matchup without either of them in his deck.
So
That
Mike has the
said,
board, but he's really out of resources. He's running out of gas here, and this is looking like a fairly precarious position here for Mike.
yeah, unfortunately, he's playing a vanilla 10-10 for 10 on board right now. Your hope is that Barnes on 4 is going to grab a 1-1 Yasharj, which grabs the 10-10 Yasharj from your deck. That's the point of him in the deck. And unfortunately, when you have to play him on 10, it leaves a dead minion in your deck for half the game, and the best that Yasharj can do is grab a 3-4 Barnes. As you saw, Mike burned the Barnes, so Yasharj is just a vanilla 10-10 at this point.
So Jelly, you're of the opinion risk versus reward. The risk far out exceeds the reward potential, and it is not worth going for these high rolly type of conditions.
Yeah, so in a tournament meta, that's absolutely my opinion, where you don't have another chance, right? It's not like if you draw the Barnes on 1, big patches on 1, you can just queue up another game and high roll your next opponent. You don't have that option. If you lose a game, you're down a match. My opinion is that in a tournament meta like this, it's simply not worth the risk. That's
Nate got lucky there. He could have drawn the Void Collar from the
Well, I mean, that Void Lord would have been fine there, but not pulling that Void Walker,
and
pretty
there's the
huge.
concede.
There it is. Great play from Nate there, and some unfortunate draws from Mike. I think we would have seen a very different game if we had seen Barnes on 3, Barnes on 4. So, as we suspected with that matchup, we're going to game 5. It's going to be Hunter versus Hunter. I am excited to see what we get out of Nate here. I think we know pretty much Mike's entire deck at this point. I think the one question we have is whether he's playing the legendary weapon. With the Barnes Yasharj, it could go either way. But other than that, I think we've seen the majority of his entire deck. So it'll be interesting for sure to see what Nate is playing here.
Not a common sight on ladder, Hunter versus Hunter. This is going to be a fun way to cap off the series. Really don't know who has the advantage. This has been a really swingy series. A lot of convincing victories on both sides. I think that really going into this is anyone's game or anyone's series rather to take.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not call this going into this match who has the advantage here. I think a lot of it, I hate to say the obvious, but a lot of it's going to come down to draws here. Okay, so absolutely, obviously, Secret Hunter out of Nate here. That means that I've got a pretty good shot that we're going to see some Reptar here.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice opening hand there for Nate. He has the Spellstone, couple secrets, the secret engine with the Cloaked Huntress.
Well, there it is. He just activates that Spellstone completely, right? So yeah, definitely huge start for Nate here. obviously rolls the cat trick knowing that he's playing against Spell Hunter here. So we do see the legendary weapon out of Mike. So the unfortunate thing there is that he has to play one of the minions in his deck before he can play that. But by turn 7, you should draw one or the other, I think is the plan there. Oh, interesting choice with Swamp Cake Dread here.
Yeah, I was about to say that looks like Nate's not running a top-heavy list like Mike, but I take that
then
back.
Yeah, so it'll be an interesting question to see if we get any recruit out of Nate here, or if that's just the top end of his list. So that Spellstone is fully powered up at this point, but unfortunately Nate does not have a turn 4 play. So we're gonna see that Venom Spike. We're probably gonna see that Cloaked Huntress attacked next turn. So
And right back to his hand.
Oh, I'm not even paying attention to those.
It's hard to see the secrets on the stream overlay. We're gonna take that under consideration and try to get a secret. A way to show those secrets better for next time.
Yeah.
Like I said, day one of a new league, a few kinks to work out on the technical end of things. Really appreciate everyone's patience through some of the quirks that we're experiencing.
So while we say that, I just want to point out that Mike did replace his freezing trap there. So Mike has a that is gonna hit this bear right here. So I think correct play from Nate here, just load the board with wolves.
A tough board state to deal with. I think that Mike does have some options to take care of Nate's board. The question really becomes what's the end game here? Looking at Nate's hand, he doesn't really have a strong follow-up for the Spellstone. And Mike does have some options, but they're a little awkward. I suppose he could rock to my side next turn, and then possibly the legendary weapon, but it seems a bit of a waste when you're holding on to so many cards.
Yeah, it's a tough call. It's going to come down, like I said, to a lot of draws. I think correct choice here. I think everybody's just looking for their good stuff at this point. Flanking Strike is the clear choice for me here. It's a 2 minion swing on the board, so it's a good choice. Just want to remind everyone right now, Nate is rocking a Snake Trap and a Venom Strike Trap, so we're going to see both of them right here.
So just looking at his hand, we didn't see Barnes or Yashiraj, so the To My Side in Mike's hand wouldn't fully activate, would it? That seems like another big con for running that high roll condition as well, because if you don't pull the 2 minions out of your deck, you're kind of holding on to a bit of a brick with To My Side. Or I suppose you could play it as a glorified double-costed animal companion, but...
Yeah, so the problem is that not only is that To My Side bad, but remember, if he draws dead 2 turns in a row, that Rockdalar's bad too. That Rockdalar is not active right now, so if he drops it right now, it's a 7 mana 4/2, and that's not what you want to be seeing. So unfortunately, he needs to draw Barnes to activate those 2 cards. Even a Yasharj wouldn't do it because Barnes is still in his deck, and he can't play Yasharj until 10.
I feel like we're seeing a strong case this evening for leaving out the Barnes Yashiraj as the only 2 minions in a deck, particularly when you're running cards that are dependent on not having activators in your deck as well. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can't fault Mike for it. The thing about it is that, especially in some previous metas, a Barnes on 4 into a Yasharj will win a lot of games. And I think I remember looking at the math at one point. I think it's about a 40% chance that you hit Barnes by 4 if you full mull for it. And if all you're doing is fully mulliganing for Barnes and you're gonna win 40% of your matches that way, I can't fault you for doing that on the ladder. That said, I think what we're probably looking at here is maybe both of these players took decks that they're comfortable with on the ladder and brought them to a tournament. And I think a lot of players don't realize that the tournament meta is fairly significantly different than the ladder meta. Now, interesting to note here that Swamp King Dread is his ability is mostly dead versus Mike's deck, because Mike only has 2 minions in his deck. So we're actually gonna see the Swamp King potentially be relevant right now, killing this Barnes as soon as it's played. I think the obvious play here is to play the Barnes. You want to activate the To My Side and the Rock Delar. So I think that is what we'll see. I think probably Barnes Animal Companion is the right play. You hope to high roll your Animal Companion. What I was saying about Swamp King is that he doesn't hit Animal Companion. He doesn't hit To My Side because those minions aren't played. They are summoned. The distinction there is essentially whether they were in your hand.
And it looks like we're not going to see Barnes, at least not as the first card played this turn. Hovering with that Animal Companion. Getting a Misha. I'm not sure that's what Mike necessarily wanted to see in this situation. Although contesting that.
Being at 12 life, I think it's exactly what he wanted to.
But fair enough.
So the Misha there means that he doesn't have to kill command that 3/3 because he prevents it with 3 damage.
And here comes the 10-10.
So right now, first thing that Nate is doing is looking at his hand, counting it up, seeing if he can get to lethal. And unfortunately, I don't see a way to do it. I think the right thing to do here is Putricide, Explosive Trap, and hope for something fun.
It can't be stressed enough that taking a moment to reflect on the state of the board, counting damage, etc. is so key. I say this as someone that routinely skips that and starts snap playing cards. Good on Nate for taking the time for some self-reflection. I think we could all emulate that behavior.
So interesting play there that Nate did not go 9 damage to face. He took care of the 1/1 Yasharge, which is a really odd call to me. Nate knows that Mike is not playing any other minions because he saw a Yasharge whiff last game. So he can't be afraid that that 1/1 is going to hit anything. So I really feel like the correct play there was 9 damage to face. And that sets up lethal for the following turn.
The Hunter Hero power is really good at putting people on the clock. I mean, generally speaking, you want to try and reach for as much damage as possible to set up lethal turns, but the Hunter Hero power does enable that type of behavior. You know, it's tough. This is not a common matchup. These deck lists are a little bit more on the homebrewed side, so maybe we're just seeing time get the better of Nate there.
So tough choice from Mike there. I wonder if he was trying to decide whether to take that secret plan and try to get a freezing trap. Just to slow down Nate a little bit there. I think he is going to roll out the Rexar just for the armor gain at this point to try to put himself out of lethal range.
Yeah, possibly being able to get extra taunt minions. That Hunter, Deathstalker Rexar hero power is a immense value generator.
Unfortunately, did we just see Mike rope without attacking?
We did.
Yeah, so that is tough because Mike was able to clear the board there. And by not clearing the board and not hitting for 14 to face, I think we might have just seen Mike put himself out of this game. And that is really unfortunate. Just taking a little too long to think about that tracking there. And it's a totally understandable thing to do. But it's unfortunately a real bummer for Nate. You see Nate trying to point that Putricide at face there, realizing that he's not able to. I wonder if that was just throwing his mouse around or if he was actually hoping that he could click that.
Well, everyone assumes that rush equals charge until you can't drag that minion face. So another lesson in the balanced game mechanics that Blizzard has introduced. Melons and other
absolutely.
degenerate cards aside.
Yeah, so I think it was the right choice from Blizzard to phase out the charge mechanic and move to rush, but I do think it's made a lot of things a lot less fun.
So I think Mike's gonna have to take the taunt here, right?
I don't think he has any choice.
He seems to be pondering the decision quite heavily. Maybe he's thinking the lifesteal, possibly.
I think he's got to grab it and play it and clear the board, and he's got to be quick about it. So he grabs. Interesting choice not grabbing taunt there. That's right. He's thinking about Dredge, which I am not.
Yeah, getting a little bit of a heal there, but maybe not enough to get him out of the lethal range.
And that's it. That's
the
lethal.
well played. Yep.
Well played.
And Nate going to take the second series on day 1 of the Into the Wild League.
Well done from Nate Wolfe, and as you can hear from the way that we're commentating on this game, it was not obvious to anyone. I don't think anyone went into this knowing how the game was going to go, or even really how to play the game. Unfortunately, that
Death Lord.
No clutch. And there we go. There we go.
Exactly.
The most important Death Lord we've seen today makes it clear that there was, in fact, a Subject 9 in that deck. Well played from both players here.
Down to the wire.
This was down to the wire for sure, as close as it could get. Both players had a chance to salvage that game. Really, really great play from both players. And I am loving the fact that we saw some great decks from both players. Could not have asked for a better start to day 1 of this Into the Wild League.
So I'm going to try to get both Nate and Mike in chat with us so we can review some of the more interesting moments of this series. Let's see if we can get them in to join in on the conversation.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a sec to do that. And while you do that, let me see if I can pull up what we're looking forward to. So for the viewers who are live right now, we do have 2 more matches tomorrow, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We've got Craig of Canada playing Dr. Evil. Craig's bringing Druid, Shaman, and Warlock. Dr. Evil's bringing Druid, Hunter, Shaman. So pretty close class choices there. So I think that'll be a pretty interesting matchup. And then following that, at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, we've got Getmouth versus Chai. Getmouth is bringing Druid, Warlock, Priest.
Look.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, Nate?
I don't know if it's just us or if they're supposed to add us.
Yeah, we're supposed to add you.
Oh,
yeah,
hey.
There we go. Slight technical difficulties. My inability to unmute myself and cutting Jelly off made things a little bit disconcerting there. But we're all here. That was a great series, guys. We didn't know who was going to take it right down to the very end. Some really
that was
cool
a close one.
And interesting deck choices. It was great. It was everything I could have hoped for and more.
Beautiful. I think I probably missed lethal a couple of times in that last one. I can't wait to watch the VODs to see. And I was trying to get that Glenda or that Warlock deck had the Glenda mech like OTK in it, but I just never got to play it. So
unfortunately,
that's a shame.
Yeah, I was wondering what that Warlock deck was. As you could tell, I wasn't trying to stick around and find out. you just kept drawing cards. And you burned them out again, and like this guy doesn't care. Like he just discards everything and draws everything. Like, what's he gonna do? I mean, not find out.
Every
I don't
time
know.
I played it, Glinda was like the bottom 3 cards in my deck. There's an OTK with Glinda, Mech Warper, and
A bunch of magnetics.
a bunch of magnetic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like magnetic warlock. I'm like, this guy's a monster. I'm out of here.
No,
No,
but
you
as soon as I realized you were playing Freeze Mage, like that ice block would have done me in no matter what. Not to mention you had like 100 armor. So
Yeah, Mike, you were playing against that the correct way. There were a couple of turns where you made sure there were no mechs on board. You were always keeping that ice block up, and keeping that Frost Nova in hand meant that as long as you had ice block into Frost Nova, there was no way that Nate could punch through that.
Yeah, I played enough freeze mage to know, like, yeah, always hang on to those cards until you see like something deadly. I thought he was gonna play some giants. He kept tapping for life and drawing cards, so I was waiting for 8/8 or something crazy, or like what's that card? Mechathon? Is it Cataclysm combo
Oh
or
yeah,
something?
no,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't in there. But
I don't know. I was like, let me just get out of here. I don't know what he's doing.
No, but
It's Nate.
Nate, you just realized what Mike was playing pretty early and tried to draw into your combo as quickly as possible, right?
yeah. I mean, as soon as I saw the couple secrets drop and realized it wasn't a polymorph or a burn spell, and then the Doomsayers, like, oh, it's Freeze Mage. I mean, Mike loves Freeze Mage. I know that anyways. I should have known.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
As soon as
figured
you
you
see
would
that
know.
Witchwood Piper, right?
Yeah. No, I mean it obviously wasn't a super aggressive deck, and the ice block, because it's like an OTK deck. The ice block would have done me in anyways. I mean, the other thing with the deck is all the armor is kind of difficult to get around because the echo mechanic the animation is so slow that if he's at 50 health, I don't think I can make it in time before the rope burns all the way down.
Yeah, you've really got to have Ziliax, right? And just
Yeah,
keep
or well,
loading
this
them
one
on.
runs the ones that have 3 attack with magnetic, so you can go
Okay.
faster. Like the skater bot is just impossibly slow.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I don't remember what it's called, but it's in there. I have to look it up, but it's fun, but it's a hard deck to pull off because you have to have 6 spots open on the board also. I mean, it does
Yeah.
really great against aggressive decks, but against the more combo oriented ones that just have to draw their combo and win, really difficult. But it's a
Now,
lot of fun.
do you think it has any, other than being awesome and fun, do you think it has advantages over a standard Reno lock or control lock list?
It's a lot more fun.
That counts for a lot.
I think it has style points.
Was that your way of showing contrition for bringing Starliner Druid?
Yeah, I mean, I feel guilty about that. I didn't have time to create a bunch of my own homebrew crazy stuff, and so I brought Danny Donut, Starliner Druid, and
I will note that you stuck a couple of innervates in there, and that innervate won you the game.
It did.
Yeah.
The original list had 2 UIs in it, and I've been playing it on ladder, and they're dead. They were just dead draws for me every time.
They're 100% dead all the time. I've literally never played the UI in that deck.
I think I've played it once, and I've been experimenting with it with Lowe in the list. I know Cream Puff has been lately as well, but I really like having the Brewmaster in there just because if your opponent's got a bunch of armor, you want to bounce one of the Starliners to get an
Yeah, for
extra
sure.
14. So I pulled out the 2 UIs and put 2 innervates. And that his hunter deck was really aggressive, and I had drawn no armor. A lot of times that druid list gets a ton of armor, and I just didn't have any. But I drew the combo really early, and the innervate is what won me the game.
Yeah, I was hoping to sneak that win in with the hunter because if you didn't pull that combo off that turn, I was winning next turn. So I was like literally align the stars. Good job.
We were talking about it, and we figured that, Mike, that you had no idea he had innervate in that deck.
No idea.
Yeah, I mean, Bio Project could have gotten him there, but he had essentially 4 options to win that turn. So
he played Aviana by itself, and I'm like, oh, I got this. So I was like, well played. And then he played the innervate, and I'm like, oh crap. Like PG, trying to keep PG, but yeah.
But to be fair, Nate, you don't have to feel bad about bringing Starliner because Mike crushed you with that Mally Druid.
Oh yeah, that was just brutal. Yeah.
Oh, that was a
I'm
fun game.
curious.
That was
I
fun.
haven't tried it yet with Psych Melon, so I was curious. I saw that and I thought I was gonna get Togwaggled.
I
So
really like
can I
that
get some
list, Mike.
backstory on that card? I didn't play
Yeah.
the Brawlseum this past week. When I signed in, you guys had messaged me for deck list, so I opened up the pack from the Brawlseum. I got 20 dust in a pack. I opened Psych Melon in that pack, so I was like, oh, I can play this in Wild. I was like, let's go. I literally just opened it an hour ago, whatever.
Nice, nice.
So
Yeah, I
But
have
no,
to give
I
credit.
played that deck a lot in the Exodia Mage deck a lot.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
a
I'm still
lot,
trying to
yeah.
refine like a new version of Exodia, and I'm not happy with my list yet, but it's getting there. But yeah, I have to give credit to the deck lists. That Starliner Druid primarily was Danny Donuts and Cream Puff, with some of the tech cards. That Mech Zodia list is Saucy Mailman's, and then that Secret Hunter was straight up from Mad at Arms. So none of those are my original lists.
So much.
But the innervates make it the Nate Wolfe Starliner, right?
Yeah, you know the rules. You change two
Maybe.
cards and you get to
Change
slap
two
your name
cards.
on it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the laws of Reddit.
It's one card off of Cream Puff's list.
You can write a
All the only
guide now.
difference is I have a Brewmaster instead of Lotheb.
So Mike, can I ask you, when you were playing that Mally list, we were talking about some of your choices. There was a point where you had the whole combo except for Aviana, and you spreading Plagued instead of Psych Meloning and getting the combo the following turn. Were you worried about Dirty Rat there, or what were you thinking?
I don't know why I was thinking I was going to overdraw because it's only like one copy of 7, 8, 9.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, no, in that exact, I know exactly what you're talking about in that moment. I don't know why, but I was thinking I was going to overdraw, but then I played it and I was like, oh yeah, there's only one card left, so I should have played it last turn, but it still worked out.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, especially if you just put that list together tonight, first time playing Psych Melon. That's completely understandable.
Yeah, because I played the list before without Psych Melon, so that part was new to me.
Now, are the Florist and the Gloop there? Those are got to be new for the Psych Melon, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, really, really interesting choices. I
I played that deck before when I never drew a Faceless Manipulator, and it just feels horrible.
I'm sure I made misplays. So yeah, I'm anxious to go watch the VODs and see, what I could have done better
Nate,
or whatever.
Speaking of misplays, your illustrious co-host Craig would like me to make sure that he saw you miss lethal, and he's really disappointed in you.
He texted me, "You missed lethal." Like, what? I don't see it. I don't see it.
I didn't see it either. I don't know.
Well, you got there in the end, Nate.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I was hoping, I was hoping to, when I got Houndmaster out, I made sure to drop my secret before I crashed my mad scientist into his whatever
yeah.
that was, because I didn't want it to pull like a duplicate, or I wanted to be able to get a different secret. And as soon as I saw that freezing trap, I was just, I was hoping that he'd play his Yasiraj into it, and it gets just stuck in his hand. So I was happy about that.
So Mike, I gotta ask you, after tonight, are you going to be cutting Barnes and Yasharaj out of your Hunter deck list, or are you gonna double down on that? Because it seemed that duo caused you no short of grief tonight in both the games. The second and third game that you used that Hunter list in.
Yeah, I'm actually just gonna dust both of them and use dust towards the deck next week. No, I'm just kidding.
But no, I mean,
actually,
those were.
It's worked me in the past, so I wasn't nervous playing it, but as you saw, I just didn't draw them in the right order, or they came too late. So it happens. It's a card game.
I mean, if you pull Barnes on 4, it's almost unstoppable. I mean, a 10-10 on turn 5 is almost impossible to deal with. So it's just a matter of drawing in the right order. But I mean, those were close games. I mean, we kind of came down to the wire there. So,
yeah, for real, it was
good
pretty
games.
close to me. Yeah, good games, man. That was fun.
Absolutely. Congratulations to both of you. Great series. Really psyched to see what you guys bring next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, next week
we've got our deck building challenge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Battle of the Commissioners did not disappoint. Both taking it down to the wire. Yeah, I dubbed this the Battle of the Commissioners, UHL versus Into the Wild. So you guys put
That's
on the
awesome.
clinic and took it right down to Game 5, which is what I was rooting for. So good on you both.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
guess now I'm 0-3 against Nate. I gotta get a win somewhere against Nate.
Oh,
Well,
he'll get there. Don't worry.
you'll have plenty of chance here.
He's like, "Don't worry, kid. He'll get there."
You'll have
Well, hey,
plenty.
thank you guys for
That's fun.
casting. I really appreciate that.
Oh, no
Yeah,
problem at all.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
for
for
real.
all our viewers who are still staying up with us this late, join us tomorrow for Craig versus Dr. Evil and Get Math versus Chai. It's going to be a great time. We've got Keith Numbers, Rod, and Wildcard commenting on those games, so it'll be a really good time.
That'll be extra fun. And yeah, the games, we'll be posting the VODs, exporting them to YouTube later, so they'll be around.
Perfect. So before we wrap, do you guys have any shout outs or info you want to share with the remaining audience? Mike, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, Mike, you can go first.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for casting. Thank you, Nate, for inviting me to the league. And yeah, everybody watching, go check out my league. We're starting up in September. United HS League on Twitter.
Hey, don't thank us until you hear the things we said.
That's fun.
Ouch.
Hey, got a whole season ready. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Nate, how about you?
Yeah, I just want I really appreciate you guys taking the time to cast this. Thank you, Mike, for joining the league and for playing tonight, and thank you to everyone that's out there watching. Just really excited to launch this league. It should be pretty fun and pretty entertaining, I hope. And if you want more info about it, just check out the website, intothewildhs.com. We've got a podcast and a lot of fun stuff there. So check it out. And yeah, thanks again.
So with that, we'll call it a night. Great games, great first day for the Into the Wild League. Thank you everyone for bearing with some of the technical shortcomings. We're committed to working them out. Really excited to see what the rest of the season has to offer. So with that, I wish you all a good night. Take care, everyone.
All right. Good night, gentlemen. Thank you.
Good night.